Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Captain, and today I'm here with Marcello Bertocchi, the designer of Aqualin, as well as many other games, and of course also the owner and operator of XV Games. Thank you, Marcello, very much for being with me today.
Thank you, Josh.
And Marcello had reached out to me in a message and asked if we could record a top 10 list together. And I was immediately interested, and we started discussing what would be good to do. And Marcello really loves two-player games, which if you've ever played his games, you know the vast majority of them are two-player and two-player only, with like a couple of minor exceptions. They're almost all two-player games. Would you agree?
Maybe only Vivaldi is not two-player.
Yeah, because that one is five-player specifically.
That's only 5 players.
Yes, but yeah, every other one you've designed.
Every other one is only 2 players. Yeah.
So we decided to do our top 10 two-player games list. Marcello also agreed, of course, so there doesn't seem to be any bias on his part. He will not be naming any games that he had anything to do with the design or publishing of. Of course, I can still name those games. And spoiler alert,
so.
one or two you were involved with may have made my list.
Hope so.
So, did you have any trouble making this list, or how easy was it for you?
No, it was pretty hard to fit all the games I like in this top 10.
I know what you mean. Every game on my list, and I want to throw this out there because there were some hard cuts I had to make. The lowest scoring game on my list, I gave 8.5 stars out of 10. It's very rare for me to have one such high scoring games on my list, but these are all games I love. Like, there's nothing I just like, everything I adore.
I also did the same. I went on my collection on Board Game Geek, and I started from my 9s, and I was like half through the 9s, and I was at top 10, and it was like, okay, maybe I should stop here.
I was having the same issue, but then what really kills me is there were a few games that just missed my list and really pained me to have to cut off. But there are just so many great two-player games in my collection. It was very difficult. All right, so without any further ado, let me ask you, actually, let me give you the option. Do you want to go first or second for the presenting of the games for each number?
The same for me. Your choice. You're the guest.
That's why I'm giving you the option, because you're the guest. Would you like to? You know what? I'll go first, because I think second is the more prestigious position. You know, you get to finish up on each number. So I'll go first. I'll give you the better position at number 2. And without any further ado, we'll get to our number 10s. Number 10.
I'm actually curious.
I'm very curious to see what's on your list as well. Okay. All right. So for my number 10. I have a game that I adore. I just wish I could find someone who adores it as much as I do, because this is a game I want to devote entire days to playing. And so far, I haven't found anyone else who likes it as much as I do. It is an old school war strategy game meant to represent the Punic Wars. It is Hannibal and Hamilcar, Rome versus Carthage. I love this game. It's a big area control, conquering of the Mediterranean kind of game. But the thing that really is most interesting to me is the battle system, which uses cards, where the more power you have in that battle based on troops and general skill, the skill of your generals, etc., you get more cards in your hand. And then when you are on the attack, you play a card that is a battle plan, like a frontal assault or a left flank or a double envelopment. And your opponent has to either play the same card, or there is one card that is like a wild card they can play to counteract your attack. And if they do it successfully, then they can try to roll the dice to see if they can take over as the attacker. And you go until whoever is the defender at the time cannot counter that attack. And then you roll the dice depending on how long the combat went and how many people were involved in it to see casualties before finishing up the combat. It is one of the most interesting and unique battle systems in an area control game I've ever seen, and that's why it made my list. I really enjoy it. Hannibal and Hamilcar, Rome versus Carthage.
I've never played that one, but I think I know some playing groups that would love to play that. So if you pass by in Italy, let me know. I will
You'll invite them over?
Some.
It is a really good game. I really enjoy that one a lot, definitely. So what's your number 10?
I actually prepared them here, so I will show them.
Oh, okay.
So I remember the list. So my number 10 is a Nestor game, so it's a game by the Nestor Games, and it's Adaptoid.
Oh,
It's
I haven't
also
played that
one of his oldest games, and is the one that made his symbol. So it's one of the first game he got success with, and it's very interesting game because most of his games is a perfect information strategy game, but it has some very nice tricks because you play on this hex board, and you go on creating new pieces, and the new pieces have no power at all, cannot move and cannot do anything. But every turn you also add some legs or arms to them, and the legs represent how many spaces they can move, and the arms they're fighting power. So to eat a piece of the opponent, you need to have at least the same amount of arms. And so it's a very weird game. Also, it always gets to the end, doesn't stay much, because the more legs and arms you put on a piece, actually the weaker it gets, because bigger pieces need more space to live, because they are like bugs or entities, so they need space to live to hunt for their food. So the number of legs is also the number of empty spaces they need around them to live. So if you have like a piece with 3 legs and 3 arms, unless it has 6 spaces, empty spaces around it, it's dead immediately.
Interesting.
It's very interesting. It's very nice design.
I haven't gotten to try that one yet. That does sound very interesting. I like the whole idea of how the stronger and more maneuverable it gets, the more vulnerable it gets.
Yeah, because then you can get around it and cut it. It's like a life space, and it dies anyway. So you have to balance the getting powerful pieces, but also giving them space.
Interesting. Very cool. Number 9. All right, so my number 9 favorite 2-player game is Radiant Offline Battle Arena. So this one really blew me away when I reviewed it. A little game by a little company that I think it's the only game they've ever put out so far, but they hit it out of the park with this one. It is like a 2-player card battle game meant to obviously by the name, meant to evoke the sort of feelings you get by playing online battle arenas, except that it is obviously offline. It's done with cards. You have 3 heroes. You have 3 of these these location type cards, and you secretly choose a deity which you have face down. The deity dictates what your location cards are, but they start face down, so your opponent can't figure out which is your deity. So they're hidden, and on the backs, they're all the same. They're the same until they get destroyed. When they get destroyed, you reveal a special ability, and a certain combination of abilities will be unique to your deity. So after destroying a couple, you might be able to figure out what your opponent's deity is. The heroes have special abilities, and you can gain up power to eventually level them up and make them even more powerful. And the deck in the game is made up of 30 cards. You get 10 cards each based on what heroes you choose. Each hero gives you a different set of 10 cards. So it's like a instant deck builder. You pick these 3 heroes, you take their 30 cards total and shuffle them together, and you have your deck. And if you destroy all 3 of your opponent's locations, flipping them to trigger their abilities, it will force them to bring out their deity. And if they bring out the deity, it is like a super more powerful hero. And if you can destroy it, you win the game. So you have to you want to force them to bring out their deity before you have to bring out yours. Because even though it's super powerful, it also makes them vulnerable, like the game you were just talking about for your number 10. It's this super powerful character, but if it dies, that's it, game over. So if you force them to bring it out and then gang up on it with 2 of your heroes, you're probably going to do okay. So usually once a deity comes out, your opponent will try to bring their other heroes in to protect it, help defend it. This game is a lot of fun, very enjoyable, and amazing artwork. The artwork is absolutely gorgeous, and that is why Radiant Offline Battle Arena is my number 9.
My number 9 is Fugitive by Team Power.
I've heard of it. I haven't played it.
Maybe I've heard of it. It's a 2-players asymmetrical deduction game by the author of Paperback. and it's very nice because it's asymmetrical, and one player plays the spy, and the other one the agent that is just trying to catch him, and the secret agent and the spy is going to move secretly into some position identified by numbers, and can take every time just 3 numbers for each step. So every position he plays, each card he plays, it can be at maximum 3 steps away from the previous one, but can play more hidden card to change that numbers, and the agent player must try to understand in which position, which numbers the spy actually played, and every time he can get one, it will get revealed, and if all position of the spy get revealed, the spy loses. If the spy can get to 41, I think, and the agent gets a last chance to uncover all the remaining position. Otherwise, the spy flies away and wins.
It sounds like an interesting sort of deduction kind of.
It's a deduction. It's a very mathematical deduction game, but it's also very quick and very interesting, because you have, as an agent, you have to do a lot of calculations and think about how many steps he might have taken from the last one. Every turn you also draw a card, so you have some information, some hints about where he could have gone, where he, of course, is not going, because you have that card. So you have a lot of mathematical information, and you have to deduct where he's stopping each time.
I'm going to have to check this one out. I haven't played this, but it sounds very similar to a lot of other games I have played that I really liked, that almost made my list, that were a little bit cut off, but it does sound like one I would enjoy. It sounds really cool.
I think it came out a couple of years ago.
And it's Fugitive.
Fugitive by Team Power. Power Games.
Number 8.
So my number 8 is a game that one of its versions is currently being published by XV Games, by you over there, Marcello. So this game had to make my list because I love it so much, and it hits my table all the time. There are certain people I play it with, and when they're over, we play it. And that is Need You. So this is one of my current favorite tile-laying games. It's a fantastic 2-player kind of abstract strategy game. And specifically, this is the version that you have published, the Japanese Proverbs edition.
Yep.
Now, the gameplay itself is fantastic, regardless of edition. It is a really great game. But after I found out that there were older editions that Nestor had published, I wanted to look at them, especially because when I had reviewed yours, I was saying how much I would have liked like a hard plastic version or a Bakelite version. He has a hard plastic version. And I was like, oh, let me check that out. But it doesn't have the Japanese proverbs on it. And actually, that's like one of my favorite things about the appearance of yours. So like I was looking at them and I debated, and I decided not to get it because, and I mean, no insult to Nestor. He designed the game, and the game is amazingly elegant and amazingly awesome. I absolutely love this game. It's just that the addition of the proverbs to the tiles is just this gigantic step up for me. So that, that's I love the version I have. I love the Japanese Proverbs edition. So, and that is why Need You is my number 8.
We might be working on a new theme for the game for next edition.
Oh, really? For XV Games or for Nestor Games?
Together.
Oh, together. Awesome. You guys have done some really great collaborations. So that is one I can't wait to check out. So what is
like the same kind of games?
The what games?
We tend to like the same kind of games, so it's easy for us to make similar games.
Indeed, you guys are both very big into the abstract games. The abstract games, very much so. So, Marcello, what is your number 8?
My number 8 is an abstract strategy game. If I can take it, okay. That is published by Stefan Spiele. And it's by Andreas Kunekat. And it's Kulami.
Oh, interesting looking.
It's a very nice game of the kind I like, with some randomized setup and perfect information play, because you have all these small wooden boards that you use to compose the playing board. They have different sizes. You have like 2 spaces, 3 spaces, 4 spaces, and 6 spaces. And then you have these marbles, these proper marbles, and you take turns placing these marbles. And where you can play your marble is based on the last position that the opponent played it into, because you can play only on the same row, orthogonal, but not on the same block, wooden block, where he placed this piece, and not on the last wooden block where you placed your last piece.
Interesting.
So you go on with this exchange, and when nobody can play anymore because there are no marbles left, or there is no position where to play, the game is over, and you take apart the board, and every player takes every board where he has the majority of his color.
Okay, and then they work.
And it's worth that number of points of the number of spaces in the block. So, for example, cool. A 6 spaces block is worth 6 points for who has the majority, even if it is not full of pieces, of course.
I need to try this one. This sounds
very
right
nice
up
game.
my alley. I've never played that. That sounds really cool. It looks really cool, too. I love the look of it, for sure. Number 7. So my number 7 is similarly to my number 8, which my number 8 was a game that was designed by Nestor Romeral Andres and was published by XV Games, Marcello's company. This is the reverse. This is a game that Marcello designed and was published by Nestor.
I think I know which is.
Yes, it is. I raved about it when I reviewed it. You sent me a review copy, and it's one that still hits the table for me a lot. And I've played it with a lot of people, and everybody's been gaga over it. The people in my group really like it, and that is Return to Camelot. So, like I said before, you guys, when you guys do your collaborations, they've been really great. This is my one of my favorite games in all of 2020. One of my favorite new games. This game was fantastic. So, for those who haven't played Return to Camelot is a abstract strategy game, but it is not a complete information game. It is a game that feels like it can draw its heritage from 2 specific parents in the abstract strategy game field. One is Stratego, and the other is Checkers. And now I know what you're thinking at home. You're like, Checkers and Stratego, those are nothing alike. Exactly. But they've been merged together into this beautiful package that is Return to Camelot. So the thing is, you've got hidden pieces like in Stratego, but the pieces move like they do in Checkers, where they can jump over other pieces, and you jump over opponents' pieces to capture them. You can even do multiple jumps, but like Stratego, you're looking for the Lord on your opponent's side to end the game. On the other hand, if you can get 2 pieces into your opponent's back corners, you can also end the game, or if you can get your own Lord in a very sneaky way into one of your opponent's back corners, you can end the game. So there's lots of ways to win. The strategy is very deep. The game can be incredibly lightning fast. I've had games of this go like 5 minutes, believe it or not. I've had some where we're just like I feel like I want to put a speed chess clock in on this, because like that's how our games always are. They're like fast and furious. But this game is fantastic. This is a phenomenal, real brain burner of a game, because this is one of those like you wind up feeling like you always feel like you miss something when you see your opponent's turn. You're like, oh, what did I do? And then your opponent's like, dun, 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 jumping all over your pieces. Really phenomenal. Love the 3 ways to win. And like I said, Return to Camelot was one of my favorite new games released in the entire year of 2020. So Marcello wasn't allowed to pick it for his list because he designed it. It had to make my list because I love this game so much. And that was my number 7, Return to Camelot.
If you want some backstory about this one, I actually designed it inspired by a very old game. This is in the 1860 something, probably 1886, by it is called Chivalry by Parker from Parker Bros.
Oh wow!
One of his first games, and it has the same concept. So you have your pieces. You have the knights and the soldiers, and they can move or jump your own pieces or the opponent pieces. But it's a very old game, so it's huge. There's a huge board of like 200 spaces, and you have like 20 pieces, and it can take forever to end the match. So I took that concept that I liked very much, even if it is a 150 years old game, and I tried to adapt it to a more modern feeling of game design, well, it's a very not everybody likes it because it's a very like punitive game, because very punishing game. So you can lose very, very quickly.
You can, but that's actually one of the things I love about it. The original one, Chivalry, that you based it on, did that also have the hidden pieces?
No, it isn't have hidden pieces.
Okay, so that was your idea to add in the whole hidden pieces and bluffing
element. Some hidden pieces with powers and some bluffing, because you can create a chain of captures. So even if you lose like 3 or 4 pieces, if you still can get your lord near the castles, or if you then can eat the opponent's lord, it doesn't matter. You still win. So I wanted to make it with a lot more like things happening suddenly.
Very cool. So what is your number 7?
My number 7 is a game that I think you might know from Blue Orange games. It is Goblet.
I have not played that.
And it's by Thierry Denoir. It's published by Blue Orange, and I think also it was published by Gigamic in France and in Europe. And it is a very nice game. It is a 4x4 grid, and you play with these pieces that have different sizes, and they are empty inside. So you can stack them, and you don't see what is inside. And you try to get a line, a foreign line, very easy concept, but you can also move your pieces already in play, eating stacks of other pieces or smaller pieces. And when you move them again, you are uncovering what is inside.
Interesting.
So it's a very easy strategical abstract game, but also it gets some kind of memory feeling to it, because after you are playing for a while, you start to have very big stacks of pieces. So every time you are moving one piece of that stack, you are uncovering other pieces, and if you don't remember what is inside, you might actually lose because you are uncovering a piece of the opponent.
Tricky.
It's very tricky. It's very nice.
Oh, very cool. And that is Goblet for your number 7. Number 6. My number 6 is actually another one from Nestor Games. This is a game that I tried recently. It's a bit older, and it totally blew me away. You can obviously tell that we're both fans of Nestor Games. It's hit both our lists a few times. This is Flink. So Alex and I sat down to play this, and our first game of it, we played it on the orthogonal board, and we were like, "Oh, this is pretty cool." And then when we were done with that, we switched over to the diagonal board, and then we got crazy into it. And on our first time sitting down to play, I want to say we played about 6 games of it on our first sitting, and drank about 8 beers. It was really hardcore. The beers helped to give you a bit of a penalty if you were doing too well. They help to slow you down. But the game is fantastic. It's one I've played quite a bit. I love how you have to get up and look around because you're placing these 3-dimensional puzzly pieces on the board as you're trying to build a line connecting all the way up and over to the other side of the board. And I love when you get into like a big pile somewhere in the middle of the board where you're each trying to cut each other off and reconnect your pieces and play over each other. And yeah, that's awesome because the line has to be drawn along the faces of the pieces, and it can go on any face, left side, right side, top. It just can't connect. If the pieces only connect in a little corner, it can't connect across. That has to have at least a full 2-dimensional side connection to be able to draw the line. And that is why Flink is my number 6 game. Flink is awesome.
I agree completely.
So what is your number 6 game?
My number 6 game, maybe you know it, but don't recognize the box because this is the Italian box. But is BLITZKRIEG by Paolo Mori. It was published by PSC, I think, this year. early this year.
I don't think I've played this one.
It is a great game. It is Blitzkrieg, Second World War in 20 minutes, I think is the subtitle.
Oh, wow.
It's from Paolo Mori, that is the author, the designer of Libertalia and of Pandemic Fall of Rome. It's one of the biggest Italian game designers. And he made this small game that is about Second World War. And it is a really, really smart game. It is, you have a bag of pieces of chips, like small cardboard chips, and you are playing in these 5 zones of conflict, and you are playing your pieces that have a strength that move this little bar of who's winning that zone of conflict, and every time you are winning, you win one scene of the battle, you get some bonuses, and every time you play a pieces, these get some different powers, and it's not perfect information, but it is very, very strategical. And it's really a great game. I think it's one of the best 2-player games that came out this year.
So is it basically like an area control game? Like you have these 5 areas and you're trying to control.
Yeah, but you don't have like proper areas. It's more like these bars and that are spaces that get you some special effects. So you have the special effect of the piece you're playing, plus the special effect of the spot where you're playing it. And it's really great. You can teach it in less than 5 minutes, and I really think it's one of the best 2-player games that came out this year, and maybe in a while.
Oh, fantastic! I'm gonna have to give this one a try. I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, the box is a little bit different in the rest of the world. This is like specific for Italy only, I think. But you should really get it. It's a great game.
Excellent. And that was your number 6?
Number 6, I think.
Blitzkrieg. Number 5. My number 5 is my current favorite abstract strategy game of all time. However, it trades off with my previous entry, number 6, for that position. I keep changing my mind, but right at this moment, when I made this list here, it was my favorite, and that is Yinch. Yinch, in my opinion, is the best game in the Gift Project series, and that whole series is fantastic. Now, none of the other Gift Project games were high enough in my esteem to make my top 10 2-player games list, but Yinch, in my opinion, is head and shoulders even above all those other good games, and it's a fantastic 2-player abstract strategy game. It very much feels to me like it draws its heritage from the classic games of Othello and of Nine Men's Morris, because like Othello, you have pieces that you are flipping the color of back and forth as you go. Though in this way, it's done with jumping over them with rings. And if you jump the rings over a group of pieces, they all change colors. And then you're trying to line up 5 in a row of your color. Every time you do, you score a point, and you take one of your color rings off the board, and you have a scoreboard on your side of the board, score 3 points, and you win. This has got to be in the last 10 years, this is my most played abstract game. I absolutely adore Yinch. And that's why it's my number 5 favorite 2-player game.
Cannot add anything to it.
Have you played Yinch?
Yeah, of course.
Do you like it?
I love, of course, all the Gift Project, but I think it is one of the best of the series.
Definitely fantastic.
For sure,
series.
Cannot be discussed.
So, what is your number 5?
My number 5 is I got two different copies of it, because I have like almost every kind of copy of it in the existing, and it is Schotten or Battle Line.
I love that game. Great game. Oh, you've got the old Battle Line version.
This is the medieval Battle Line edition, and this is the first edition, the first German edition, Schotten.
Great game.
And by Rainer Knizia, of course. And I think it's one of the most elegant 2-player card games that exist still, and even if it is like maybe 20 years old, or 1999, 20 years old, and I think it's still one of the best 2-player card games existing at the moment on the market.
Why don't you talk about how it plays a little?
Yeah, it's some kind of like poker-like game, because you have to make some poker-like sets. So you have like the sum of the cards is the lowest kind of set you can make. Then you have same color, same number, semicolor and number, and so on. and you play on 9 positions, and you have to make combinations of 3 cards on your side. When there is a combination of 3 cards on both sides of a position, who has the better combination wins the position. The first player to win 5 position or 3 adjacent positions wins the game. And in the first edition it was only like this. Then in the following edition, like a battle line, and then also in Shot and Totem by Yellow, you get also some special cards you can use as a variant that add some special moves that I actually don't like to play with.
I agree.
I prefer to play with the basic game because I think it's a very mathematical game, and using the special cards takes away some of that calculations. And there is already enough luck in this game about the drawing cards.
Yes.
So I prefer to play it without the special cards, and without special cards, I think its design is so clean and so good that there are literally not many other card games this easy and clean and strategical.
I totally agree. This is another one that is high on my list of 2-player games. It's just there were so many 2-player games. It definitely didn't make my list, unfortunately. And for American viewers at home, when Marcello is talking about combinations of cards, what he means is you play 1 card at a time, and you're looking to make 3-card poker hands behind each of the tiles to win the tile. Better 3-card poker hand wins the tile. Yeah, that is fantastic.
The most famous edition of this one in the USA is the GMT one, Battle Line.
Shot and Totten.
Okay.
It's more well known as Shot and Totten over here. I'm aware of the Battle Line one because I had seen that it was rethemed, and I had seen an old review of it. But Shot and Totten is more widely available than Battle Line over here, so more people know it as Shot and Totten. Yeah. And we've got the yellow version over here, which comes in a nice small box. Yeah. I've got a copy of it over on the shelf over there. Actually, great game. Number 4. Okay, so my number 4 favorite 2-player game is going to be the very first tabletop miniature game on my list here, but it will not be the last. Lately, as I've been playing lots of games with certain people, there's certain people that come over and we always will do a tabletop miniature game and then maybe play something else afterwards. But these have been a huge part of my gaming life in recent years, and I knew there were going to be a bunch of them on here. And this one, by the way, is by 2 Italian designers. This is Sails of Glory. Sails of Glory is a phenomenal tabletop miniature game that allows you to control a couple of Age of Sail, Napoleonic Wars ships, and you try to outmaneuver your opponent and get the best firing arc on them while stopping them from getting good shots on you. You can also totally control the individual actions that all your crew are able to take. Depending on how many crew you have left alive, there are more actions you can take, and there's lots of things you can do, like raise sails, lower sails, turn the ship, put out fires, repair the ship, fire cannons, reload cannons, etc. This is a crazy deep simulation of Age of Sail combat, and it's fantastic. I play this most often with my friend Alex. Alex usually kicks my butt at it. He's very good at planning ahead for the moves, but this is one of those games I never mind losing. I lose a lot, and I don't care. I still play it. It's phenomenal, and I don't know of any other game that can give me that super thrill of Age of Sail combat in such a realistic way as Sails of Glory, and that's why it's my number 4. Have you played Sails of Glory?
I didn't, but I know the designer. It's a very famous Italian designer of the classical epoch of Italian game design, of historical wargamings. He's the designer of Wings of War, I think.
Yes, and now Wings of Glory, and also he's also been one of the. Well, it's the same 2 designers. Seem to always work together, and they did Wings of War, now Wings of Glory, and also Battlestar Galactica, Starship Battles, and a lot of other games. So yeah, the
simulation kind of war game simulation field. They're famous here also.
Yeah, they're excellent. They are phenomenal designers. I love their stuff. So what is your number 4?
My number 4 is a very abstract strategy game, and a very luxurious one that is called Urbino. by Gerhard Spiel and Design.
Oh, interesting.
And Gerhard Spiel and Design is a German publisher, and they are mostly like they make these very, very high quality wooden games. Like I have a lot of wooden games. There are not many of this high quality of wood and craft. And they have a lot of good abstract strategy game, but this one in particular is very, very good. It won in 2019 the Mensa Award in Germany. And the most particular thing is that you take turns playing this. Let me see if I can show you. You take turns placing these buildings. They are of three sizes: 1 size, 2 size, and 3 sizes. So it's like a house, a palace, and a tower. And you can place them only on the intersection of the line of sight of the 2 red pawns.
Oh.
And already existing buildings cut that line of sight. So while the more you play, the more freedom you get taken away from these buildings. And also it has some very clever rules about positioning and grouping of the houses, because you can never place a palace or a tower next to a tower of a palace, even of a different color. And this helps to create like an actually like townscape, like landscape. And also when you connect buildings of different colors, you create this kind of like group. And in a group, you can never have 2 parts of the same color. It means that if you have a white zone and a black zone in the same group, you cannot have another white or black zone divided from the already existing one. It's not very intuitive, but when you play it once, you understand this rule, and this rule is incredibly good, because with only this rule, a game is made from this one, and it's a very classical game, but also very smart game. It is one of my favorite abstract strategy game ever. I think ever made. It's incredibly good, really.
It looks really cool. I haven't gotten to try it yet. I'll have to keep an eye out for that one. Urbino.
I don't think it's distributed in the US.
Oh, that would explain why I've never seen it.
It's barely distributed here. So.
Oh, okay. Very small release game. Very small release, huh?
Yeah.
Number 3. So my number 3 favorite 2-player game is another tabletop miniatures game, and it edged out Sails of Glory ever so slightly, and the reason is it has a much more in-depth part of the game to fleet building, whereas Sails of Glory, you just pick 2 ships that roughly equal the size of the game you're playing. Star Wars Armada, on the other hand, you pick a group of ships, you pick cards for upgrades, a card for your fleet commander, cards for captains of certain ships, all that, plus then cards for fighter craft, all that can equal out to the point value you're playing at before the game even starts. And I find myself spending hours just making hypothetical lists. And that's an incredible level of enjoyment on its own, in addition to the game itself, which the game itself is also very good. Star Wars Armada beats out Sails of Glory only ever so slightly. They're so close in how much I enjoy them. But of course, also Star Wars Armada has the really cool theme of being spaceship battles in the Star Wars universe with capital ships moving around and shooting each other and outmaneuvering each other. And that is a really cool theme also. And it's also generally, the other thing that helps it to beat out Sails of Glory ever so slightly is the Star Wars theme is an easier theme to get someone to agree to play with you if they've never played any of these games. Like you tell them Napoleonic Wars, Age of Sail ships, and they're like, but you're like, how about Star Wars ships? They're like, ooh, they get, it just makes it a lot easier to get people into it. And that's why, for all those reasons, Star Wars Armada is my number 3 favorite 2-player game.
I fear I don't have miniature games in my list.
Well, that's okay. That's why our list will be very different then. That's a good. Yeah. We both had a lot of abstracts, but I think you're going to have more abstracts than I do. For sure.
Maybe.
So what's your number 3?
My number 3, you might know it because the company that makes it's an American company, and I really love this game, and I don't have many people to play it with because it's a very hardcore game, and I wish there was a competitive scene for this one here. There isn't, but I still love it, and I try to play it when I can lure somebody into playing it. And this Pixel Tactics.
Oh, I've heard good things about it. I haven't tried it, but I've played some other games from the same company, but not that one.
Yeah, it's from Level 99, and I just love this game, but it's so hard because it has this like cute graphics, like pixel pieces, but it isn't this cute because it's like playing like Mage Wars, but without dice and with every card that has like 5 or 6 effects. So it's a card game. It's 1v1 card games. You can play it in multiple versions. You can have like the same deck to play balanced, or you can deck build your deck. You have very different modes of play. And the thing is that you have this deck, and every card has one effect if it is chosen as your leader. And you put it in the middle of your board, and you have a 9-position board on your side and 9-position board on the opponent's side. And this 9-position board is divided into 3 spaces, like Vanguard. I don't remember the middle one and the backfield. And each card can be played as a champion, like as a piece on the board. And it has a different power based on which row it is placed.
Okay.
It has a different power if you play it as a spell.
Okay.
You can play it as a spell. It does one thing. If you play it in the first row, if it is in the first row, it does something. Second row, it does something else. As a leader, it does something else. As a rear row, it does something else. You can move it during your turn. So it changes which effect it does. And all the damage is not decided by dice, but is all preferred information. So if I have 5 attack, I deal you 5 damage, and if you have 4 health, you die. And
so are you spending your time playing and manipulating the cards to get the right combination in the different places to do maximum damage as well as protect from maximum damage? Like, you don't move onto your opponent's board, do you? Or
you don't move on the opponent. You just optimize your position on your board, and you take turns. Like you have some, like I don't remember, 2 or 3 actions in your turn that you can spend to place new cards or remove dead cards. Or move cards in your board, or making them attack or do some kind of power, or play one card as a spell, not as a champion, and do stuff like that. And the first one that can kill the opponent's leader wins.
That is really.
It's a very, very good game, but also very hardcore because each card really has like it has only the small pixel image, and then it's all text. And you have like 5 effects of all text. So the first time you play, it's very hard because you have to read a lot of your cards, understand what your card does and what they do, changing their position. And every time the opponent plays a card, you have the 5 effects of that card. So it's really a lot of information. But the game, I think, it's probably one of my favorite 1v1 card games in the world.
I'm going to have to check this one out. I've never played it. It sounds really cool.
If you want to try it, I suggest you try one of the boxes like they made, like Pixel Tactics Legends, something like that, that has like a selection of cards from all their expansions. And you get with like, I don't know, like $15, you get 2 decks of 25 or 30 cards and most of the tokens you need. And you can play with the same deck with your opponent. But every card can be also a leader, so you actually have like 25 leaders. So you can, and every leader you're playing changes completely your strategy for the game. So if you want to try it, I suggest something like that. Some of the smaller boxes, you try it out if you like it. I played it once because the Italian publisher I work for localized the Italian version of the Pixel Tactics Legends. I tried it once, and like I went immediately on the level 99 web shop and bought everything they had about this game. But
Very
it's
cool.
not a game for everybody.
I have to check this out, though. I do. This is one I really want to play. That sounds really cool. Number 2.
My number 2 is so weird.
My number 2 is another tabletop miniature game, and it's another one by our those Italian designers. I'm gonna put their names up on the screen because I can't remember. I think one of them is
Andrea Angelino.
Angelino.
I will tag him.
Yeah, I'm gonna put their names up on the screen during each of the times we've talked about them because I was unable to remember them offhand and I didn't write them down. But this one is Battlestar Galactica Starship Battles, and this game blew me away. When I first tried it, the thing is they did something very, very different for this game than they did for their other games, which was they wanted to emulate the dogfights from the Battlestar Galactica TV show, where they tried to, in the TV show, they had tried to make the dogfights in space be very much like how real dogfights in space would be. So if you fire your thrusters going in this direction and there's an enemy ship over here, you can then fire positioning thrusters to turn. Since there's no air, there's nothing to slow you down. You'll keep sliding in this direction and you'll be sliding sideways while you can shoot at them there. And they put that in the game. They figured out a way to do it, and they did it really well. And there's tons of just like setting up like passes on your opponents. You set up a way to pass. If you can do it the right way, you'll catch them where you'll turn and face them while they'll turn the wrong way. You'll shoot them. They won't be able to shoot you. And it's really cool. This is a really well done game, and they've done a bunch of expansions with different ships. There's also ways to customize your ships with different pilots and then also different abilities and even different upgrades to certain ships. So you have a bit of that fleet building. It's not as in-depth as it was in Star Wars Armada, but it's way more in-depth in Battlestar Galactica than it is in, say, Sails of Glory. And the very realistic mechanic of being able to use your positioning thrusters to fly by sideways by your opponent is just awesome gameplay-wise. It's super fun, and that is why Battlestar Galactica Starship Battles is my number 2 favorite 2-player game.
My number 2 is really weird choice, I think, but I love this game. And it's a game from 1959.
59?
From Avalon Hill Games.
Wow. This might be the oldest game on either of our lists.
Might be, yeah. If you don't consider the inspiration for Return to Camelot.
No, it's a different game. It's a different game. They didn't even have the hidden information.
And this game was actually the game that made Thomas Shaw the lead designer of Avalon Hill.
Oh, okay.
And it is football strategy.
Oh, wow. I've never played that.
And this one and its sibling Baseball Stars, Baseball Strategy were the games that made Thomas Shaw become the lead designer of Avalon Hill until it got acquired by Hasbro. And wow. I just got it because an Italian shop had it on sale some time ago. And I played American football for a while when I was younger. And so I just thought, why not? It's Avalon Hill, it's about football. Let's give it a look. And I was blown away by this game.
Okay.
It's so good. It's a game made by like a chart.
Okay.
Like 10 cards and 1d6 and not much more.
What are the mechanics like?
The level of simulation of a real American football game it reaches, it's incredible with just like 4 components. It's incredible. You have you simulate a full game of football, American football, where when you are in offense, you have this chart of plays, and before you choose your play, the defense chooses a defense card, and each defense card has a number, and each has a letter. Sorry, and each attacking play has a number.
Okay.
And when you reveal them together, you cross the attack play and the defense play and in this chart, and in the chart it tells you what kind, if it is again, if it is not again, it is what it is.
Oh wow!
And how much time does it spend to do this play? So it's just like I choose a play, you choose a play, we cross them, we get a result. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it involves also throwing this d6 to get some randomization, but mm-hmm. not many times. Mm-hmm. And it's like that. But it is so smart and so strategical, and I was like really blown away by this game. It's a bit on the long side, like all the older games. It's mm-hmm. I think it's like 2 hours something. But it is like a really, really simple concept, but it's too good, and I'm actually sad that I cannot play it that much here. I would, but I don't have many gamer friends that know American football rules, and it's not like you cannot play if you don't know them. But you enjoy it a lot less, I think, because it's so detailed in this strategy, and it gives you back so much the feeling of American football that if you know the rules, you can enjoy it a lot more.
Oh, very cool. I've never played that one. Wow.
I think you weren't born also in 1959. Okay?
No, certainly not. Long before I was born. But I've never even played it later, never played it in anyone else's collection.
If you find a copy somewhere in some like old games market or something like that, I really suggest that you to get a copy because it's great.
Oh, very cool. Awesome. And now it is time for number 1. All right, so we're down to our number 1s here. So my number 1 is a very small release game done by a company that, to my knowledge, is the only game they have ever released. I believe the company that was formed just to make this game. Another very small release game that absolutely blew me away. I love finding these smaller publishers and their games that nobody hears about, but they deserve to be played. Because a lot of these are just really awesome. And this one is 1750 Britain versus France. So this is a game that I raved about when I first reviewed it, and my estimation of the game has only gone up over time. It is a completely symmetrical, kind of abstract card game based on controlling the various military forces of either Britain or France during the colonial wars, and you fight over 4 different colonial areas. You've got North America, the Caribbean, Africa, and India, and you fight over colonies in those different areas. Different colonies give you different resources. You try to collect like trade route contracts for groups of resources that are each different. You want 3 sets of 3, so you might want to get like spices and precious metals and fish, and that's a set of 3, and that'll give you money every turn. And then the next one you get is furs and fish, because you got a lot of fish, and lumber, and that gives you another gold every turn. And then in addition, you are using your gold you earn to buy forces and military commanders and place them down in different areas and try to conquer the different areas to then get more resources. And also periodically you try to win other world leaders to your side. So they have various European leaders, as well as there's one Native American tribal leader is one of the people in there. And if you can get them on your side of the war, they will lend to your war effort. Some of them will send mercenaries. Some of them will give you exclusive trade contracts. Some of them will give you bonus cards you can play. It's really, really cool. This game is one of the most amazing simulations of like the entire world at war that I have ever seen. It is my personal favorite 2-player game of all time, one that I think is criminally underrepresented and underrated by most of the gaming public. So I think everyone who is really into 2-player strategy, war simulation sort of games should check out 1750 Britain versus France.
I will for sure. I don't know at all this one, but I'm actually looking at it like right now. I
Oh, you just looked it up?
On Board Game Geek, just to know what it is. I usually
It is.
not that much into like deep simulation games, but I trust your.
It does it in kind of an abstract way, though. It's not an abstract game, but the battles are done by moving just cards on your side of the cards that are on the table that represent the territories. You move them to the area you want them to fight over, and then you just have a token, a two-sided token on each territory that shows which side of the wars it currently is controlled by.
I will for sure look it up.
So now, I am very curious. What is your number one?
Not that special, but it's like my favorite games. I never refuse a game of, and I just love it so much. And I loved it that much that when I went to Tokyo Game Market in 2018, I went to the game designer of this game and asked directly if he could get me a copy of the original edition. And he got me one, so I have it now. And the game is Onitama.
I love Onitama. That game is great.
And for me, Onitama is like all I want in a game. It's two players, random setup, perfect information. You can teach it to somebody in less than a minute, and you can play in 15 minutes. Depends who you're playing with, but usually you can play it 15, 20 minutes, and is chess-like, but quick, but still same level of strategy, and every time you play it's different, so you cannot focus too much on openings, and but you can still do some studies about it, and it's just like my favorite game ever. If I go somewhere to some gaming class or I go on holiday or whatever, I always bring a copy with me because it's easy to find somebody to play with, and I cannot say much about this one. It's just my favorite game ever, not only in two-player games.
I love, with Onitama, I love how you randomly deal out the cards, 2 to each player, 1 in the middle of the board, and I love how when you play a card, you use that card to move one of your pieces, then you pick up the card from the middle of the board and put that one in the middle of the board, which means next time your opponent's taking it. So whatever you play, you're giving that ability, that move, to your opponent.
So when you have a move that you don't want to give the opponent, you say, okay, no, I will keep this move because I want to play around this card, but then you are playing out card. So you don't have that much options. So sometimes you have to play, or maybe the opponent is holding a card that gives him a very strong move, like the 2 steps forward card, and you're playing around the fact that he will hold that card. So you try to get him to play it whenever it's not needed, or to force him to play it, or to force him in a bad position because he doesn't want to play it.
Indeed. And then the other thing I really like is the multiple ways to win. So you can capture the master, which is like the king in chess, or you can move the master to the opponent's martial arts school space, which is the centerpiece on the back of the board, which is kind of similar to your design game, which doesn't surprise me. Return to Camelot, which it doesn't surprise me that you're a big fan of Onitama, because I did notice that similarity in the multiple ways to win, for sure. So, Now, I'm curious about that version you have, because I've never seen that version.
Yeah, this is the original Japanese edition.
Oh, so does it have a hard... Is it a hard cardboard board, or?
Sorry?
Is it a hard cardboard board?
Yeah, it's a hard cardboard board and with meeples, wooden meeples, and normal poker-sized cards.
Very cool.
The Arcane Wonders edition is aesthetically probably better. I don't love it. I think it could be better aesthetically. Okay. I think they did a great job with the cards, because they made the cards with the kanji, what is called in English, the sinograms, the Chinese characters of the moves that resemble, I think, calligraphy, and resembles the actual animal, like the snake, the the character is made so it seems like a snake, and it is very aesthetically pleasant. But don't like that much the pieces, the plastic pieces. But it's still very nice edition, and very portable. And they also worked on the moves, because the original edition had different moves. They were a lot more symmetrical, and there were some cards that had different move based in if you use them with your king or with the other pieces. And that with Arcane Wonders changed the moves, and they made them less symmetrical, so it's harder to get in stales. And they took away the double moves and make some new moves. I think they did design-wise, they made a great job. They did a great job, and it's still probably my favorite game. Not only in two-player games.
Your favorite game of all time?
Of all times, yeah.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, there you have it. Those are our top two. I don't know why.
No.
I think I was going to say top 10 players,
Yeah.
when it should be saying top 10.
Top 20 games.
Top 10 two-player games. Comment down below. Let us know what you thought of our choices. And also let us know what are your favorite two-player games that missed our lists. Would love to hear from you in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this top 10 list and you'd like to see me do more like this, be sure to give it a like, share it on all forms of social media. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelt with a K on YouTube. And check out XV Games. I'll leave a link to the XV Games website in the description down below. That's Marcello's company. And until next time, game on.